Welcome, Viktoria Modesta. How goes it?
Good. How's it going?
It goes very well. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on today and talk to us. If you don't mind, would you please introduce yourself to the audience? Let them know a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. I'm a bionic performance artist and a creative director. And, I guess more recently an NFT artist. Um, I kind of throughout my career, I have initially focused on augmenting the physical body and kind of various mediums of how you can work with that. So everything from tech fashion to prosthetics. But I tend to kind of create whole little worlds and frame it with music and performance. So anyone that might kind of come across my work, usually it's kind of content based. So photos, videos. If you're lucky enough, it would have been a live show, which happens very rarely
Oh,
because of the
wow.
production value. But I guess you could say that everything that goes into designing like a sci-fi fictional character, I've adopted that, but kind of in real life. So I've been really pushing the boundaries of what's possible with the physical body and kind of, really sci-fi in real life. That's been my focus. Um, and as kind of as there's been like such a nice little pause in the world, I've just really taken the time to dive deeper into, the digital augmentation um, of the identity that I've been kind of creating. So I have a lot of really new cool things that are on the way.
So one of your most recent examples to highlight what you're describing would be I guess at this point it's a hit. It went viral at this point, right? Over 13, almost 14 million views on Prototype. This is an example in which people can experience a little. If they go to YouTube, type in Prototype, they could see exactly what you're talking about there. Is there anything that you could tell us a little bit about that? And right before we get into that, let me show them a clip to show what I mean. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience and maybe what inspired it and some of the processes in which of making it?
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of, so just to kind of get the story out of the way. I was born in the USSR, and I had a long battle with my health and my leg. So then at the age of 20, I actually, being really inspired by kind of the more imaginative way of living or kind of creating like a sort of a new identity.
Hmm.
I had an amputation below my knee, and that's kind of really from that time that I really got deep into working with design. So, fast forward to 2012, I performed at the Paralympic closing ceremony in London, which was super dope. And, it was the first time that I really realized that, like, hey, this post disability, post human kind of thing, is a thing around the world. And, I kind of found myself a little bit at the forefront where, I really, I didn't see it as something kind of dull. Like I really saw it as an opportunity for expressing myself and bringing, music and creative direction into into life really. So a couple of years after that, I got approached by Channel 4 in UK, who very famously covered the Paralympics, created this series called Superhuman, and really highlighted the potential of the human body. And so that was really dope. But they were like, hey, like no one in the world is really doing what you're doing. Is creating this kind of very sci-fi and real life character. And also like from a cultural perspective. So that's how Prototype came to life.
When I was watching it, it was
Um,
very hard to tell what was sci-fi, what was real, what was CGI, what wasn't, and it definitely blended those worlds together as an experience for me as a. And the one thing that really stood out was all the like the pinup artwork, like throughout it felt very like propagandized or being like manipulated to like really follow that like pinup art throughout the like that like the background story to me was the pinup art, and I wanted to know more about the journey of that, and it was just so much fun watching that video. And I think that's exactly what you achieved there, is blending and mixing those like what is real, what is reality, the sci-fi meets real life. It's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so at that point, I was really, really deep working with the prosthetic design. So we wrote the song, and then, we already started designing the prosthetics. And then, I met Sam Farahman, the director of the video, and, we kind of really wanted to frame it in a way as tongue in cheek of how pop culture really is kind of like the new religion, in the world. And I think a lot of the time, we just don't think about it. We just throw things out there. So I think, for me, it was very important to do something that felt like very stimulating and extreme, but also had like a very strong message and, kind of a positive message, really, right? So it was sort of an interesting storytelling exercise, really, with design and music. But and obviously it's funny, like the creating the Betty Boop version of me, right? The V girl with a spike leg. That's pretty much the kind of work that goes into making an avatar. So, sometimes when I think back about it, I'm like, wow, I'm like, that was 6 years ago. I was like, I was already designing an avatar, just like in real life, ahead of the time. So yeah, so a lot of, I mean, so really bringing it back to what's happening right now, when the NFT scene kind of really kind of came to the surface and came to light, I really felt like the work that I've already been doing, and specifically that video, was really the beginning of the journey of how you can create artwork that pushes this kind of human augmentation to such an extreme, but you can't really quantify it, like that video's been in museums and galleries and it's been reposted millions and millions of times. But, I think that apart from it being on YouTube, it's never really, I've never been able to put that stamp of like artwork on it. So it's been really interesting. I feel like I feel like really at home in this area right now.
Well, I feel like this is a great segue into talking about the NFT drop for the video and the first single that you're going to be doing, uh, and being able to kind of branch out of that YouTube and into the whole world and the metaverse itself with this technology. Is there anything that you wanted to make sure that we could highlight really quick about the drop that you're doing and the video single?
So with the record itself, I'm really focusing on. We're going to be releasing the record single by single, and starting from just the concept announcement, everything is going to be backed by a whole series of different digital artworks, and some are a mixture of real and digital. And I'm just going to be pushing everything that you kind of already seen me do, plus more and more and more, and kind of add all of the different layers. So it's a very exciting time. I think that I was planning to release my record, literally pre-pandemic, and I'm so glad that I didn't, because the way things are happening right now is kind of exactly what I've been waiting for. There is a lot of challenges to do it single by single, but it is also something that I'm personally very comfortable with, because what I love is, creating like a capsule of like a storyline, and then being able to explore like all of the elements of that story, and like what my character is, and what, so if you look at my previous work, like the Rolls-Royce Black Badge art film that I made, in 2019, you know, it literally, part of art directing it was creating the correct curation of the artists that I work with, because that to me is everything. So, you know, for someone who really likes to collaborate, like this is like the perfect thing. So, you know, what's forming is like, this is this little world, you know, who is going to be the perfect person to come and help me tell the story of this little world? You know, whether it's avatar makers, whether it's VFX artists, whether it's digital fashion, you know, like, and there really is nothing that I'm not looking at right now, honestly, which is super exciting. So for me, this is kind of course, it's a, you know, it's a commercial and art project, you know, and a really important music release, but also it's kind of an opportunity to R&D, like, all of the incredible ideas that so many artists have right now, you know, and when I can, you know, I bring in, you know, any kind of more official kind of studios or partners. And like, that's what I love, you know, is this kind of ability to bring all kinds of artists and, you know, and people who want, like, some companies who want to work with artists closely, right? And help develop that. That's my sweet spot.
You know, you're doing monthly drops, is that correct? And we can talk a little bit about like when these start and let people know how they can get, you know, the information and make sure they don't miss out on the monthly drops for the singles.
Yeah, definitely. So we're announcing the first round of artwork literally really soon, probably around the 25th of June. And the first single drops on the 9th of July. And, you know, it's pretty much going to be like a monthly schedule. Yeah, I definitely urge everybody to, you know, subscribe to my newsletter and just kind of follow my socials. You know, and you know, some of the first drops are going to be with Foundation. So,
Nice.
You know, you're welcome to come and follow me. And yeah, so it's, you know, and fingers crossed, you know, everyone's gonna see some of their favorite artists collaborate and kind of, you know, have their own version of Viktoria Modesta kind of like universe with their artwork. So
Anybody that you've recently worked with that we might be able to see some work from and of?
I mean, all the new stuff is just coming up, and you're just gonna have to wait and see. But you know, if anybody wants to go down the rabbit hole, you know, it's like, I mean, my work with Anouk Whipwrecked, for example, who is the most badass tech fashion female designer out there, or Alternative Limb Project, who literally have created some of the most crazy ass prosthetics. I mean, these are just like all to sort of name a few, you know. But yeah, the first record announced that's coming up is going to be really special, and it's somebody that I've like admired for, I don't know, like 6 years now. So
I'm just envisioning somebody walking down a runway wearing some kind of fashionable tech that actually plays the vinyl record of the single while they walk down the runway.
Wow, it's funny you say that. So one of my collaborations with Anouk was with Autodesk and Intel, and the project was called Significa. We showed it at Art Basel, and if anybody Googles Significa, it's, you know, it was all about instrumenting the body, and I had these 3D printed tusks that came out of my body, and I was able to play. I was able to play them. It was absolutely wild.
Wow.
Yeah. One thing is that you know, in like, you know, one of the things that I'm really going to be desperately kind of just pushing, even if like, you know, it doesn't make sense initially, is, you know, the idea of, you know, signals from the body connecting with technology on the outside. You know, I think that is going to be like sensor sort of technology is going to just keep blowing up. And, you know, we've already done quite a few experiments, but I think it's just going to keep getting crazier and crazier. So you watch the space.
All right, we can wrap things up here. I want to let the audience know, though, that they should check out ViktoriaModesta.com, ViktoriaModesta.com. Go and check out the website today. And I'm curious if you could tell us one last thing on the way out. If there was anything that you kind of wish that you'd known about getting into, the NFT side of the art world when you started, what would that bit of advice that you could go back in time and give yourself, what would that be to somebody who may be starting today?
I think probably just not really fearing or comparing yourself to kind of what's out there, and honestly, whether it's NFT space or any kind of artwork or any kind of expression that you make, it's like there is only one way to refine your style and your kind of uniqueness, and you sort of you just have to keep digging deep into what that essence is, because that is really just kind of the way to do it, and yeah, you have to be your biggest believer. That's how it goes. It doesn't change anywhere. So
I love it. That was beautiful. Well said. Thank you so much, Viktoria. And as always, everybody, have a day.